Subscribe to my YouTube channel and get ready for a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Tears streamed down Xiaoyu's face as she clutched the small bag of belongings she had left. Her heart pounded in her chest, fear settling deep into her bones. She had always known life was unfair to the poor, but never in her worst nightmares did she think her own stepmother would sell her off like a piece of property. The tiny, dimly lit room she had been locked in smelled of dust and despair. She could hear the muffled voices of the people outside, discussing the deal as if she weren't a human being, but just another item to be bargained for. Her stepmother's sharp voice cut through the chatter. She's young, obedient, and has no family to rely on. The perfect wife for a man of your status. A cold shiver ran down Xiaoyu's spine. A wife? For whom? The only details she had been given were chilling. An old, powerful man, someone with enough money to make her stepmother rich overnight. She had pleaded, cried, even tried to run, but it was useless. No one cared about a poor girl like her. As the door creaked open, her breath hitched. Footsteps approached. Slow and deliberate, a figure stood before her, tall and shadowed against the dim light. She squeezed her eyes shut, bracing herself for the worst. Stand up. The voice was deep, commanding, but something was off. It didn't have the raspy, aged tone she had expected. Instead, it was strong, firm, almost youthful. Slowly, hesitantly, she opened her eyes. The man standing before her was nothing like she had imagined. He wasn't old. He wasn't frail. In fact, he was the complete opposite. Young, strikingly handsome, with sharp, chiseled features and eyes that held a dangerous intensity. Xiaoyu's mind went blank. This had to be a mistake. Was he here on behalf of the man who had bought her? Or worse, was he his son? Before she could speak, the man crossed his arms and studied her with an unreadable expression. So, you're the girl they're selling off? His words were blunt, but there was no cruelty in his voice. Xiaoyu swallowed hard. I don't want to be here. Please, let me go. He let out a humorless chuckle. Let you go. Ha stepped closer, towering over her. And then what? Go back to the stepmother who sold you. Her fists clenched at the reminder. She had no home, no one to run to, but marrying a stranger wasn't an option either. Seeing the fear in her eyes, the man sighed and ran a hand through his thick, dark hair. Listen carefully. My name is Lu Zayan. His gaze locked onto hers, sharp and unwavering. I'm not an old man, and I don't need to buy a wife. Xiaoyu blinked in confusion. Then why was he here? As if reading her thoughts, he smirked. You've been lied to. Her heart skipped a beat. Lied to. Did that mean she wasn't sold off to some cruel old man? Then what was this? Some kind of joke? Before she could ask, a knock came at the door. One of the men from earlier poked his head in, looking nervous. Boss, everything is settled. Should we take the girl to the mansion now? Mansion? Xiaoyu's eyes widened in shock. Her entire life had been filled with hardship, scraping by just to survive. And now suddenly, she was being taken to a mansion. What kind of twisted fate was this? Lu Zayan glanced at her, his expression unreadable. Then without answering the man, he turned to her. You have two choices, he said, his voice low. One, you walk out of here and figure out your life on your own. But let me warn you, once you leave, your stepmother will just find another way to sell you off. You won't be safe. Xiaoyu's stomach twisted. She knew he was right. The world outside was cruel to people like her. Or two, he continued. You come with me. Her breath caught in her throat. And what happens if I go with you? She asked, hesitantly. Lu Ziyan's lips curled into a mysterious smirk. Then your life will change in ways you can't even imagine. Xiao Yu stared at him, uncertainty gnawing at her. Could she trust him? He was still a stranger, a man she knew nothing about, but something about his presence, the confidence in his voice, made her hesitate. He didn't seem like someone who needed to buy a wife. So why was he here? What did he really want? The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. Her heart pounded. As she realized, she had only moments to decide. Xiao Yu's fingers trembled as she clutched the fabric of her worn-out dress. Her mind was spinning. This was all happening too fast. Just a few hours ago, she had been nothing more than a poor girl, struggling to survive in a cruel world. And now, a mysterious, powerful man was standing before her, offering her a life she couldn't even begin to understand. Lu Ziyan's gaze remained fixed on her, unreadable and unwavering. He had given her a choice, but was it really a choice at all? If she walked away, she knew exactly what awaited her: a life of suffering, a stepmother who would never stop trying to sell her off, and a world that wouldn't hesitate to crush someone like her. But going with him, that was stepping into the unknown. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. If I go with you, what will happen to me? A slow smirk played on Lu Ziyan's lips. That depends on you. The words sent a shiver down her spine. There was something about him, something dangerous, yet strangely reassuring. It was as if he had the power to destroy everything around him, but he was choosing not to. Before she could respond, the man from earlier stepped forward again. "Boss, the car is ready." "Boss?" Xiao Yu's stomach twisted. Who exactly was this man? Lu Ziyan turned back to her, his voice calm but firm. "Make your decision now." Her heart pounded. This was it, the moment that would change everything. Taking a deep breath, she clenched her fists and lifted her gaze to meet his. "I'll go with you." A flicker of something unreadable passed through his eyes, but he simply nodded. "Then let's go." The moment she stepped outside, a sleek black car was waiting, the doors already open. The air was thick with tension. As she slid inside, Lu Ziyan following right after. The door shut with a quiet thud, sealing her fate. The ride was silent, the city lights flashing past as they sped away from the miserable place she had known as home. Xiao Yu stole a glance at Lu Ziyan, who was staring out the window, his jaw tight. He looked deep in thought, as if something heavy was weighing on him. She hesitated before speaking. Who are you really?" His gaze flickered to her, his expression unreadable. "Someone you'll soon understand." That didn't answer her question at all. But before she could press further, the car pulled up in front of a massive estate. Xiao Yu's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just a house. It was a mansion, the kind she had only seen in magazines. The gate swung open automatically, and the car rolled inside, stopping at the grand entrance. She hesitated before stepping out, her legs unsteady. Everything about this place screamed wealth and power. The towering pillars, the spotless marble floors, the enormous chandeliers. It felt like a completely different world. Lu Ziyan didn't wait for her to take it all in. He strode ahead, his presence commanding. "Follow me." Xiao Yu hurried after him, her heart pounding. The moment she stepped inside, a group of maids and house staff greeted them with deep bows. "Welcome home, young master." "Young master?" Her eyes widened in shock. So he really was someone important. One of the older maids approached with a warm smile. "Miss, I'll show you to your room." Xiao Yu hesitated, glancing at Lu Ziyan. He didn't say anything, just nodded slightly, as if giving her permission to follow. The room she was led to was beyond anything she had ever imagined. Luxurious, elegant, and far too grand for someone like her. She felt completely out of place. "Take a rest," the maid said kindly. "The young master will speak with you later." Xiao Yu sat on the edge of the plush bed, her mind racing. What had she gotten herself into? Hours passed before there was a soft knock on the door. She jumped, her heart hammering. "Come in," she called hesitantly. The door opened and Lu Zayan stepped inside, his sharp eyes scanning her expression. "Are you afraid?" Xiao Yu clenched her hands in her lap. "I don't understand any of this. Why did you bring me here?" He leaned against the doorframe, crossing his arms. "You were being used as a pawn in someone else's game." "I needed to stop that," she frowned. "But why? You don't even know me." A shadow passed over his face. "Because I know what it's like to be powerless." Something in his tone made her chest tighten. There was more to this man than he was letting on. But before she could ask anything else, he pushed himself off the doorframe. "You should rest. You'll need your strength." "For what?" she whispered. He glanced at her one last time. "To survive in my world." With that, he left, the door closing behind him with a quiet click. Xiao Yu sat frozen, her mind spinning. His world. What did that even mean? She had escaped one nightmare, only to step into something far more dangerous. Xiao Yu lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling as Lu Zayan's words echoed in her mind. To survive in my world. What did that even mean? He had saved her, but she still didn't understand why. And now, she was trapped in a world so different from her own, surrounded by luxury she had never even dreamed of. But was it really safety? Or had she just traded one kind of captivity for another? The next morning, Xiao Yu was startled awake by a soft knock. A maid entered, bowing politely. "Miss, the young master requests your presence for breakfast." She hesitated before nodding. As she followed the maid downstairs, her heart pounded. In her chest, she was about to sit face to face with the man who had completely changed her life in a single night. Lu Zayan was already seated at the grand dining table, dressed in a sharp suit, effortlessly exuding power. He glanced up as she entered. "Sit." Xiao Yu hesitated before taking a seat across from him. The table was filled with dishes she couldn't even name. It felt surreal. "You didn't sleep," he observed, sipping his coffee. She shifted uncomfortably. "How do you know?" He didn't answer, simply watching her as if he could read her every thought. Xiao Yu clenched her hands together. "Lu Zayan, I need to know the truth. Why did you stop that deal? Why did you bring me here?" For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, he set his cup down and leaned back in his chair. "Because I knew who was behind it." Her breath caught. "Who?" He studied her carefully before speaking. "Your stepmother was trying to sell you to an enemy of mine. He isn't just an old man looking for a wife. He's a dangerous man who preys on vulnerable girls like you." Xiao Yu's hands turned. Cold. "You mean, he's done this before?" Lu Zayan nodded. "Many times. And if you had gone with him, you would have disappeared, just like the others." Her stomach twisted. She had always known her stepmother was cruel, but she had never imagined she would sell her to someone like Szat. A cold shiver ran down her spine. "Then, why did you take me?" His gaze darkened. "Because I needed leverage against him, and because I wasn't going to let someone like him win." Xiao Yu's mind reeled. "So, I'm just leverage." His jaw tightened. "No." She searched his face, looking for answers. But his expression was unreadable. She didn't know if she could trust him. But one thing was clear. She had been a pawn in a game, far bigger than she had realized. For the next few days, Xiao Yu remained in the mansion, trying to understand the world she had been thrown into. She learned that Lu Zayan was not just a businessman. He was a CEO with enormous influence, someone people feared and respected. But behind his cold exterior, there was something else, something even he didn't seem to fully understand. One evening, as she was walking through the grand halls, she overheard two of the staff whispering, "The young master hasn't been like this in years. Ever since she arrived, he's been different. He actually smiles sometimes." Xiao Yu's heart skipped a beat. Was that true? But she didn't have time to dwell on it. That night, chaos erupted. Gunshots, shouting, the sound of glass shattering. Xiao Yu jolted awake, her heart racing. Before she could even process what was happening, the door to her room burst open. Lu Zayan stood there, his usual calm expression replaced with something fierce. "Come with me, now." She didn't hesitate. She followed him down the hallway, her hands shaking. "What's happening?" she whispered. He didn't look at her. "They found you." Fear gripped her chest. "Who?" "The man who was supposed to buy you." Xiao Yu's blood turned to ice. Everything was a blur. Lu Zayan led her to a hidden passage, keeping her close as the sounds of chaos echoed through the mansion. His men were fighting, but the enemy was strong. As they ran through the dimly lit corridor, Xiao Yu's mind raced. Was this the world he had been talking about? A world where power meant survival. Just as they reached the exit, a figure appeared in front of them. The man who had nearly owned her. He smirked. "Did you really think you could take what's mine, Lu Zayan?" Xiao Yu felt Lu Zayan's grips tighten on her wrist. His voice was ice cold. "She was never yours." The air was thick with tension. But Lu Zayan didn't hesitate. In one swift motion, he struck, disarming the man in seconds. His men arrived just in time, taking control of the situation. It was over. Xiao Yu stood frozen, her heart pounding as she watched Lu Zayan, breathing heavily from the fight. He turned to her, his expression unreadable. "It's done," he said. "You're safe." But was she? Could she ever truly be safe in this world? Tears welled in her eyes. What happens now? He looked at her for a long time before answering. "That's up to you." She had a choice. She could walk away, leave this life behind, try to find a normal existence, or she could stay with him, in his world. Xiao Yu took a deep breath, and in that moment, she made her decision. She wasn't running anymore.